everybody, it's Biohazardia, and welcome to my 7K special Q&A. A couple weeks ago, I put out a video asking for questions from you guys, and I got an amazing response. Actually kind of too amazing. I got over 200 different questions. That's 200 unique questions from everyone, and it's honestly, I'm super happy because I love answering questions, but it's so many questions I can't exactly answer all of them in one video. I mean, the video would be like 3 hours long. So I came up with the idea to split them up into multiple different sections based on like what the question is, and then release different Q&A videos as I hit different milestones. So for 7K, you guys had a ton of questions for me regarding Wings of Fire. So in this video, I'm going to cover all the Wings of Fire based questions that I was asked. Anyway, this video is probably going to be really long, even though it's only a fraction of the questions that were asked, but I'm going to just dive right into it. One thing that I should mention before I start answering the questions, though, is that disclaimer that this video will have spoilers for all Wings of Fire books 1 to 13 and Darkstalker Legends, but there shouldn't be any spoilers for Dragon Slayer, or Dangerous Gift, or Book 15. Sugar the Plum Dog, Cressman, and others asked, what is your favorite tribe to draw? I'd say my favorite tribes to draw are probably Sea Wings, because they look so unique. Rain Wings, because I don't really like drawing plated scales, and Rain Wings have just like small scales, and Sand Wings, because I really enjoy drawing the frill, and I like drawing the scales down their arms. Drizzle Wolf and Sammy asked, what's the hardest tribe to draw? I personally find the High Wings most difficult to draw because they have very specifically patterned plated scales, and I know I've talked about this in some of my speed paint videos, but their scales in the Joy Ang reference actually, like, don't make sense. Like, their stomach scales turn into side scales, and it's just nonsensical, and I just really don't like drawing the plated scales with such a particular pattern that you have to stick to. Colby Kriegel and Aqua387 asked, what's your favorite tribe? So this is a question I get asked a lot, and I don't really have one favorite tribe, I have 3 favorite tribes. Sea Wings are definitely my favorite looking tribe because I think they're just so unique looking with their glow scales, and I think their appearance is just really cool. Ice Wings are my favorite tribe in terms of tribe culture because I feel like their tribe culture is very different from all the other tribes, and I personally empathize with a lot of the difficulties of their tribe culture from how I grew up, so I think their tribe culture is very easy for me to relate to. And then Night Wings, of course, have my favorite characters, and the Nightwing powers are just the best. I mean, mind reading and future seeing is just super cool. Rainwing Studios, Audrey Hu, Sarsaparilla, and others asked, what is your favorite Wings of Fire ship? I really liked Darkstalker and Clearsight at the beginning of Darkstalker Legends before Darkstalker went bonkers. I also really liked the dynamic between Glory and Deathbringer, Sundew and Willow, and I hope that Clearsight and Sunstreak ended up having a healthy relationship. I also used to be a big supporter of Winter Watcher, or Moon in Winter, before it became non-canon, and I also have a soft spot for Quinter, or Kibley in Winter. When did you start reading Wings of Fire? Asked by Foxy Rye, Sakura the Leafwing, Dylan Dapper Vlogs, and others. I started reading it in early 2016 in college, a little bit after Escaping Peril came out. I only read the first 5 books at that point, though. For the next set of questions, I can answer them all with one story, so I'll just state all the questions first and then answer them all together. How did you discover Wings of Fire and how did you start reading it? From Galaxy Nightwing Queen, Snowy Wren, and others. When did you start drawing Wings of Fire? From Dreamcatcher the Ghostwing. What inspired you to draw Wings of Fire? From Abby Steves and Enceladus. How long have you been a fan of Wings of Fire? From Arafet Orlace. How long have you been drawing Wings of Fire? And what made you interested in joining the Wings of Fire fandom? From Tiny Scavenger. Okay, so there's like a story that will answer all those questions, and here's how it went down. I've always read a lot, and I've always really enjoyed reading. I mean, when I was younger, I used to have my head in a book, like, all the time. And I used to read on my iPad a lot while walking from one place to another on campus in college. So like I would literally walk around on the streets and on the sidewalks, like dodging people in cars, like while like just reading my iPad. I saw these amazing colorful dragon books in the Kindle store, but I didn't want to pay for them, so I just kind of held off on reading the series since I couldn't find it at my library. But eventually I just caved and bought the first book of Wings of Fire on my iPad, and I really enjoyed it. So I bought the rest of the books of the first arc, and I read them voraciously. But once I was finished with it, I was just kind of like, that was really cool. I enjoyed it, but then I kind of just forgot about it and I went on to read other books. I thought those 5 books were the end of the series at the time. I had no idea that the series went beyond the 5 books. That was all in the spring of 2016. So at that point, I had started to read Wings of Fire, but I wouldn't really call myself a fan because I just sort of read them and then moved on. Then randomly, in November 2016, I had to go on a 4-hour drive by myself to a friend's house for Thanksgiving. So I was looking for audiobooks to listen to while driving, and I saw that Wings of Fire had a standalone book called Darkstalker Legends, and I was just like, hey, what about this? So, to keep in mind, I was reading Darkstalker Legends without having read any of Moonwatcher's book, and I hadn't read any of Arc 2, and I had absolutely no idea what was gonna happen. I just thought it was just this random, standalone story about random characters way before the main plot of Wings of Fire. So I actually had no idea what was going to happen in Darkstalker Legends. And let me tell you, it was a wild ride. I kind of thought that Darkstalker and Clearsight were really corny and goofy at first, but I just really fell in love with them and their story. I was really rooting for Dark, Clear, and Fathom to be happy, and I really enjoy the trope of like the 3 special friends or the 5 special friends who are all like inherently special in some way, affecting the world in a really big way. So I really wanted them to be happy, and I was just really devastated when it all fell apart, and Darkstalker kept on making these terrible choices, and things just got worse and worse. Like, I definitely did not expect certain things to happen in a kid's book, especially the dark themes that were explored in What Happens to Prince Arctic and what Darkstalker does to him. And, like, because I didn't expect it in a kid's book, I really enjoyed it because I got taken to me by surprise. It takes a lot for a story to move me emotionally, and I was just so sad about what happened with Darkstalker and Clearsight. I remember that during Thanksgiving, I actually kind of just wanted the vacation to be over so I could get back to reading the book on my drive home. Anyway, Darkstalker Legends completely and totally pulled me in. When I read that book, I became a fan of Wings of Fire, and to this day, Darkstalker Legends is still by far and beyond my favorite book in Wings of Fire. When I got home after reading Darkstalker, I immediately joined a Wikia, and I started looking up things and facts about Wings of Fire on the Wikia, and when I realized there was a forum, I started talking to fans there, and I started thinking of OCs. I was like in the Wings of Fire pit then and there, and I think at that point, I became a real fan. I remember Turtle's book came out in December, shortly after, and I still hadn't finished Escaping Peril because I was having an issue with not being able to find Winter Turning for a while, and I was frustrated that I couldn't read the forums due to spoilers. But, yep, that's when I started drawing Wings of Fire, and that's when I became a fan. Have you made any fan tribes, and if so, what are they? By Foxy Rise, Shauna Purcell, Sunrise Dragon, and others. I haven't really made any big fan tribes. I personally don't really like fan tribes because I tend to prefer the canon ones, and fan tribes don't really feel real to me, and they also feel usually not well thought out. Of course, I think it's totally fine that people enjoy fan tribes, I just don't really like participating in them. That said, if I were to make a fan tribe, I would have to think extremely carefully about it and come up with some very solid lore and rules. I did think about some fan tribe ideas. For example, I really wanted to see feathered dragons in Wings of Fire, so I had some feathered tribe ideas like Seraph Wings, and I also had a really stupid idea called Sonic Wings, where the tribe could mimic calls and had like a screech attack. But unfortunately, I just don't really have time to make a fan tribe that's as developed as I want, and the name Seraph Wings is already taken in a few places. If I make a fan tribe, I'd really want to make sure that it's an original concept and that the name hasn't really been used before. Oh yeah, there's also the cheese wings, of course, and props to the people in my live stream chats who came up with that, but I kind of consider that a joke fan tribe, and it's just something kind of silly and fun, and I wouldn't consider it a real fan tribe. Who is your favorite dragon or character in Wings of Fire? The questions from Blue Orchid, Dragonbite Viper, Silverleaf Warrior, Albino Fury 05, and others. My favorite characters are definitely Darkstalker and Clearsight, and I also have a soft spot for Fathom since he was also a part of that trio. I associate Turtle very strongly with Fathom, so I like Turtle as well, and I really enjoy Winter too. I also really like Tsunami because she reminds me of myself when I was little, because I was really bossy and outspoken like her when I was young. I also have a feeling that I'll really enjoy Queen Snowfall when the Dangerous Gift comes out, since she sounds hilarious and amazing already. I know a lot of people hate Snowfall, but I really like Mean Girl characters. And speaking of Mean Girl characters, I love Queen Scarlet too. She's hilarious. Do you stick with canon designs or do you have your own style for it? Question from Blue Orchid. I feel like everybody kind of makes their own style for Wings of Fire dragons, unless they do a straight Joy-Yang style. I try to stick to canon features in general, but I do like putting my own spin on canon designs, and I think that sometimes it's fun to let loose and do very different designs sometimes. I actually would really like to branch out and put more of my own spin on the Wings of Fire dragons, since I think that I'm a little too obsessed sometimes with sticking to the canon, and that's not really good for my artistic freedom. What is a ship that most people love but you hate? From Cordy. I don't really hate anything, except for really gross things like Anemone x Whirlpool or something like that. But I don't really like Anemone x Tamarin because I felt that development kind of came out of nowhere. We'd gotten lots of hints about Pike x Tamarin because Pike was worried about Tamarin when she was burned, even though he normally didn't really show compassion to non-Sea Wings. So Anemone x Tamarin felt really random. I also don't like Blue and Cricket much, but I think it's just because I personally find them boring, and I also think it's a little bit weird that they fell in love in like 3 days. Blue Orchid and Fish in a Tree asked, who's your least favorite character in Wings of Fire? I don't, hate anyone personally, but I think that Whirlpool is probably the worst person in all of Wings of Fire. Even with Morosir, you can look at him and empathize a bit with why he did these terrible things to try to better the lives of the Nightwings who were stuck on the volcano. But Whirlpool is like a power-hungry, gross pedo who has literally 0 redeemable qualities. Sorry to Vulture fans, but I also find him boring. I don't like him because I find that his whole existence detracted from the Darkstalker plot in Book 10. And to me, Vulture was just like a boring side story that took up pages of the book that could have been devoted towards way more interesting and more important things. I think Stonemover is also pretty pathetic. It's really stupid that he didn't even try to find Thorn and he just sat in a cave for years and years. But I do think that Tui specifically made Stonemover to be boring and pathetic. Same with Whirlpool also. I think she made him to be dislikable. It's kind of funny because one of my least favorite characters in the past was actually Peril, which is surprising because I think that Peril is in general one of the most favored characters in the fandom. But when I first read Peril's book, I actually hated her because I found her really clingy and just annoying and pathetic. But over time, I have reread Peril's book and I've grown to appreciate how, her writing is actually extremely ingenious because she reflects how Queen Scarlet raised her. So, for example, Queen Scarlet raised Peril to be very obsessive over what she's thinking and always to guess what she's thinking. And it makes sense that Peril would sort of transfer that obsession to another dragon. And I do like the character development in the way that Peril learns to kind of appreciate herself before she has to go to someone else like Clay for love and affection. So I like Peril now, but when I first read Peril's book, I really hated her, and I really actually almost struggled to get through the book because I was just so annoyed with her. What's your favorite book in Wings of Fire and your favorite books outside of Wings of Fire? Asked by Cordy and Silverleaf Warrior. My favorite book in Wings of Fire is definitely Darkstalker Legends, as I mentioned earlier. Outside of Wings of Fire, I really loved the Harry Potter series growing up, as well as Warrior Cats. I also enjoyed the Mistborn series and the Redwall series a lot, and recently I really enjoyed the Temeraire series by Naomi Novik. There's also a lot of just random single books I liked, like Dog's Body by Diana Wynne-Jones. If one of your OCs could have a small part in Wings of Fire Book 14, who would you choose and why? From Lily Fleur Marks. If I could add any of my characters to Wings of Fire, I would probably add Grandmaster Merlin from the Pirate of Pantalia AU, because he's my most iconic character, and I think my most well-known character in the Wings of Fire fandom. I want him to help the main character in some mysterious way and then just vanish with very few explanations about him. What's your favorite arc of Wings of Fire? From QWERTY. My favorite arc is definitely Darkstalker Legends, as I mentioned, since the story sucked me in, and I have a huge soft spot for legends about groups of friends from the long past who heavily shaped what the world is like today. But my second favorite is the Arc 2, the Jade Mountain arc, because it ties back to that old arc about Darkstalker Legends. I just also like the protagonists and the second arc the most as well. What's your favorite Wings of Fire queen? From Caitlin Cook and Yeshi Rai. That's a hard one. I think I have to go with Queen Scarlet because I love how crazy she is and she just makes me laugh in every scene she's in. I like Queen Scarlet in the same way I like Azula from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I don't think they're good people, but they're just really entertaining to me. I'm really excited for Queen Snowfall too. She'll probably be my favorite queen when we learn more about her. But for now, I would say that Thorn seems like the most competent queen, and probably the queen that I would want to most have as my own queen, if I were in the world of Wings of Fire. What's your favorite Wings of Fire kingdom? From Drawing Dragon. Lore-wise, the Sea and the Ice Kingdoms are my favorite, based on the way their cultures are built and how their society works. The Old Night Kingdom, described in Darkstalker Legends, also sounds really enjoyable to be in, with the emphasis on schools and learning. For my own preferred environment though, I would say the Sky Kingdom would be my favorite, with the beautiful mountain views and the gorges, but the culture of the Night Kingdom or the Sea Kingdom would be my favorite one to actually live in. Do you like Pyria or Pentella more? From Dragonbite Viper. I definitely like Pyria more. What is your favorite book from each arc? Also from Dragonbite Viper. From the first arc, my favorite book is Glories, The Hidden Kingdom. It's very much a mystery. It's basically like a murder mystery, and I like mystery plots a lot more than just like, oh no, we gotta escape, or oh no, we gotta travel to some place, which is more so what books 1 and 4 are, and book 5. From the Jade Mountain arc, my favorite book is probably either Moonwatcher's book, book 6, or Turtle's book, book 9. Moonwatcher's book gave me the shivers a few times with Darkstalker's introduction, and it was just really fun to discover all the new characters and to hear their thoughts. Turtle's book is basically just Darkstalker 2 Electric Boogaloo, so I really liked it for that reason, even though I know some people don't enjoy it because Turtle does like nothing for almost the entire book, and that's totally true, but I really enjoy the animus magic theme in it. You also have to admit that the fight scene at the end between Turtle and Anemone is pretty darn cool. For the third arc, it's not done yet as of this video, so who knows what my favorite book in the arc will be, but so far, The Poison Jungle is by far my favorite in the third arc. Unfortunately, Arc 3 also has my least favorite book, which is The Hive Queen. I was honestly pretty bored during the entire book until the very end when Cricket gets into the Hivewing nests. Do you have any theories as to why Queen Oasis died so easily in Dragon Slayer? From Arctic Tea Furry. Honestly, I think that Queen Oasis just died quickly so that Tui could get on with the story. I don't think that there's any particular reason why she died quickly. What are your personal headcanons for Wings of Fire? Also from Arctic Tea Furry. I do have a few headcanons. I like the Queen Glacier x Blaze headcanon. And another headcanon that I feel strongly is that Turtle is the reincarnation of Fathom. Tui did say that she approved of the idea of reincarnation in the story, so I'm hopeful. Although she didn't confirm the Turtle and Fathom headcanon, so I also really liked the idea that Moonwatcher and Clearsight were reincarnations, but Tui definitely didn't confirm that, so that's probably not true, and I'm kind of not as into that one anymore. I, however, do really enjoy the headcanon that the blacksmith's daughter that Peacemaker is fated to fall in love with is actually the reincarnation of Clearsight, so that Peacemaker and the reincarnation can have a relationship that's done correctly. They were supposed to be soulmates, after all. What are your favorite fan tribes for Wings of Fire? Also from Arctic Tea Furry. I normally don't like fan tribes, but there are a few cool ones that have been well developed and designed. These would be, in my opinion, the Peak Wings by Velociraptioka, the Hood Wings by Voxel.ito, and the Abyss Wings by Scourgefiend. What is your favorite ability that Wings of Fire tribes have? Asked by Alicia Costella and Heather Bartlett, along with others. I think that Animus Magic is the most interesting ability and that there's the most that you could do with it in the story. And in general, I just really enjoy magic mechanics in books. That said, I think that currently in Wings of Fire, Animus Magic is written to be very broken. So I think that some corrections to it would lead it to be a more interesting and easier to write ability. I'll answer another question about this later. My favorite ability lore-wise is probably the Sea Wing Bioluminescence in Dark Vision, because it makes sense that the Sea Wings would have them given that they live at the bottom of the sea, so they would need to see in the dark. And their bioluminescence makes sense because they're already bioluminescent deep sea creatures. And they can also use their bioluminescence to signal to each other underwater. I just think it's a very well thought out species. If you could have any dragon from one of the tribes, which one would you want? By Saber Cyber Tiger. I would probably want a Rain Wing because first of all, they're vegetarians, and also because they would be easy to take care of because most of the day they would just be sleeping on my roof, soaking in the sun. I think that I would have trouble feeding a meat-eating tribe of dragon, given that feeding a tiger is already about $10,000 a year, so imagine feeding a whole dragon. Also, the Rainwings still have cool abilities. I mean, it'd be super cool to go around, like, hidden by my Rainwings' wings, all camouflaged and sneaking up on people and stuff, so I think that Rainwing's a pretty solid choice. A leaf-speaking Leafwing would be pretty cool too, though. What was your first Wings of Fire drawing? By Ray Ray Quaza. My first Wings of Fire drawing was actually of Peril, which is kind of funny because when I drew her, I really hated her, but I still had the inspiration to draw her. I like her now, though. Do you think Umber will be the Book 15 protag? From Drizzle Wolf. I really would like Umber to be the Book 15 protag because I think it would be really nice if sort of like Clay, the Big Wings, was the Book 1 protag, and then the series closed off with Umber, the Little Wings, as the Book 15 protag. But I think that it's actually much more likely to be Sky from Dragon Slayer. I probably need to make a theories video talking about that, though. Who do you want Sunny to be in a ship with? From Drizzle Wolf. I actually don't want Sunny to be in a ship with anybody. I like the aromantic, asexual Sunny headcanon. If you could marry one Wings of Fire character, who would you marry? From Blue Moon. That's a good question. It was pretty hard to think about, but I think that Thorn is very attractive because she's willing to do harsh things or even kill to get what she needs. And she also is very interested in protecting her group, the Outclaws. But she also has a good heart and she's smart. I really like that she, launched an attack on the Sandwing Palace to get Sunny back, so it means she clearly cherishes her loved ones very much. I would not want to marry somebody like Blue who is too nice to attack another dragon or to stand up for themselves. Ideally, I'd want a partner who's both calculating and can make harsh decisions if necessary, but who's also friendly and fair and likes going on adventures. Are you excited for the Wings of Fire TV show? What are your views on it? From Frozen Gem. I am excited for the TV show, but I'm also nervous. Since Tui is the executive producer on it, or she's like a co-executive producer, I'm quite hopeful that it will stick to the series without deviating too much from what happens in the books. However, I'm really hoping that they don't dumb the series down too much and take all the violence out. I think something like what they did with the graphic novels would be good, so there's still some blood and action in the graphic novels, but there isn't quite as much, and they took out more of the scavenger violence. I think if the series is rated PG-13 or PG, it should be okay. But if it's G-rated, I think it's going to be too tame, compared to the books. I really, really hope the art style is nice. I don't really like most of Warner Bros. Cartoon styles, so I'm really hoping the artwork isn't so stylized to the point of extremely exaggerated proportions that we see in kids' cartoons. Finally, I really hope the director can do a good job, since she was also the director of the Wrinkle in Time movie, which came out recently, which was one of my favorite books growing up. And let's just say she didn't handle the movie well. It got a 26% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, and that says something. I mean, that's almost as bad as Avatar: The Last Airbender's movie adaptation. So I'm a little bit worried. It doesn't really bode well that the director has already flopped a fantasy book film before, but at the same time, a Wings of Fire TV show is going to introduce so many new fans, and it's going to be just so cool to see the dragons animated. And I think it could mean a lot for the fandom. It could really mean the fandom kind of goes to the big leagues. So it's really exciting, but also a little bit worrying. What are the biggest flaws in the Wings of Fire art community, and how can the community fix them? From Depressed Rainwing. Well, it's hard to give too much critique to the Wings of Fire art community, since I think for a lot of people in the Wings of Fire community, it's like their first fandom. A lot of people joining the Wings of Fire fandom online are 10, 11, 12, and they don't know a lot of basic fandom etiquette. Things like how it's rude to request artworks from artists, you're not supposed to complain about people's commission prices, shipping wars are just not Gucci, don't steal art, things like that. I mean, all those things are bad, but you can't really blame younger people who don't know what's wrong yet, you know? I think probably other than that though, the biggest major flaw in the Wings of Fire art community is that there's a lot of style copying. Again, I think this probably has to do with the fact that a lot of Wings of Fire fans are just younger, and so they don't really know how to diversify looking at a lot of different artists to develop a style, and they kind of just look at one artist to develop a style. YouTube community actually does a really good job with this, and it's not really that bad in the YouTube art community, but it's very, very prevalent on things like the Wings of Fire Amino and Instagram. It's definitely a great idea to develop your style, as I mentioned, by studying different artists and taking the things that you like about their work and adding it to their work. But the key word is artists. Multiple. You want to study many different artists. In the Wings of Fire fandom, a lot of people will only study one artist and just copy literally everything about how that one artist does anatomy, lines, color, basically everything. It's just super awkward because everyone can tell which artist was the original, since usually popular artists are copied. I'm honestly thinking that I could probably do a video later about how to develop a style using multiple artists as references, so I can help some people with that issue who are a little confused. If you could be a Wings of Fire dragon, who would you be? From Skittles the Furious Doodle. I would definitely be a Skywing x Nightwing hybrid, given that I'm biracial in real life, and I always see myself as a red dragon, but I also feel like I'm very Nightwing influenced in general. For the next set of questions, they're all very similar, so I'll answer them all together. If you could change one thing in Wings of Fire, what would it be? From Minty, Lily Fleur Marks, and Aloe Wing. Is there anything you think that could be improved about the Wings of Fire series from a world or story standpoint? From Energetic Creeper, or what are the biggest flaws in Wings of Fire? From the Depressed Rainwing. Do you feel any aspect of Wings of Fire feels forced? Also from the Depressed Rainwing. For sure, I think there are some things that can be improved about Wings of Fire. I love Tui's writing, but there's definitely some flaws in my opinion at least. First of all, I have some opinions about how Darkstalker's defeat was handled, but I'll talk about that with another question. I think that one of the main things that could be improved about Wings of Fire is that the endings of each arc generally seem forced or rushed. This is almost certainly because of Tui's writing style, since she doesn't like to plan out her stories, or she doesn't really plan out the plot. So she often has to deal with a ton of plot threads for the last book, and then she's usually rushing to finish by the deadline, so she probably has to write just as fast as possible and just figure out whatever solution she can and then cobble everything together. An example of this is that how there's this whole side plot in the second arc with Onyx trying to steal the Sandwing throne that was being built up, and especially it was like being built up in book 6 and book 10. But by the time that book 10 came, the whole Onyx side plot was just this mess that took away attention and book space from the actual main plot, and it just fizzled out, and it was like, to me, it just felt like a complete waste of time, honestly, even though I had been excited for it in book 6. Arc 1's ending also felt very rushed to me. Like, some of the characters acted out of character to me, such as Blister agreeing to a meeting, like, why would she do that? And Burn getting tricked by the Dragonbite Vipers. I mean, Blister is probably trying to trick Burn for 20 years, so why is it that, you know, the one time when they needed to work, that it worked conveniently? Blister was disintegrating into ash, which is just kind of like, okay, Deus Ex Machina, and Rose just happening to know where the Eye of Onyx was, and that whole plot just getting solved in the one book very quickly without any hints in the other books about, like, the Scavenger's involvement. It was just very convenient. Too many convenient things happening at once. But again, that's because Tui just doesn't write with the plot in mind. She writes with the characters in mind. And the characters in Wings of Fire are very nicely written, so I don't know if I'd want that writing style to change. On the questions of what I could change if I could only change one thing, or what could be improved from a world standpoint, I think one really big thing stands out. Animus magic. It's the Darkstalker in the room, so to speak. It's just obscenely broken at this point, and Tui even knows it because she Deus Ex Machina'd it out of Arc 3. And that's really sad to me because I absolutely love magic and magic systems and fantasy. The thing is, at first Animus magic was actually balanced because you supposedly lost your soul every time you use it, so you could probably only cast a few big spells before you became evil. But in Darkstalker Legends, there's a conversation between Fathom and Indigo near the end of the book that show that spells themselves don't alter your soul. It's the bad intent or the desire to control others behind the spells that makes your soul evil. So now, Animus magic has 0 negatives, and we find out that it's absolutely godly. And as a small list, Animus magic can make you immortal, invincible, it can let you control other people or dragons, you can make other animuses, you can take away other animus powers, you can literally break time and space to teleport dragons from any part of the globe to your room, you can create new life forms like how Fathom made Blob, and even though there's a rule about Animus magic not being able to bring dragons back from the dead, it's able to heal non-fatal wounds, and bring dragons back that are an inch of death, such as Foe Slayer whenever she got frozen during the Diamond Trials. I mean, with all these powers, it's surprising that Darkstalker didn't just think of going back in time and keeping Foe Slayer from getting caught by the Ice Wings or something like that. Alright, that wasn't a small list, but you get the point. It's broken. But there is, thankfully, an easy fix. I don't know if Tui will actually do it, or she'll just cancel Animus magic altogether in Book 14. But all one really needs to do to fix Animus magic is just to set some limitations. For example, something interesting that Tui mentioned previously during an interview is that Darkstalker's magic negatively affected the Old Night Kingdom and caused it to start crumbling into the sea. So maybe Animus magic could be connected to the world itself, and abusing it causes the energy in the world to die somehow, and maybe it hurts the planet or the inherent magic in the world. So that would be a good limitation, because then you can't use too many big spells. Another great way to limit it is maybe by saying that it takes energy to cast Animus spells, and nobody can cast a spell that takes more energy than they have. That way you can have powerful characters like Darkstalker casting super powerful spells, but it would take years of practice, and not just anyone could cast a super godly spell. Oh, and then a little thing, I really wish that Turtle had cast the spell in Book 10 that foiled Darkstalker instead of Anemone. Like, Fathom's spell foiled Darkstalker the first time, and it would have been perfect for Turtle's spell to foil Darkstalker's plans the second time around, as part of the symbolism. Alright, I spent a really long time answering that questions, but, you know, I have feelings on this. Do you prefer Moonwatcher, Quinter, or Moonblee? From Dravia, Jaybird, Expert French Toast, Montana Green, and others. I was really rooting for Moonwatcher and Winter, but I would have honestly been surprised and delighted if Winter and Kiblee had gone together, since I like Quinter too. I really didn't like Moonwatcher and Kiblee, and it felt very ho-hum and forced to me, so it was actually the pairing that I wanted the least that ended up happening. Do you like the Wings of Fire graphic novels? From Superior Sushi. First of all, great username. Second of all, yeah, I like them. I didn't really like Mike Holmes' art at first, but I think he's improved a lot at dragons as he's been drawing them, and I've been warming up to it. I think that Marta or Pencil Cat's colors are incredible though, and they've been incredible since the first graphic novel. What do you think of Kinkajou as a main character? From Star and Friends. I actually don't want Kinkajou as a main character. I personally find her boring and pretty annoying. I also agree with Tui's reasoning that Kinkajou is already a good person and doesn't really need to develop. If you check my Kinkajou in Danger speed paint, you can check the description of that because Tui's editor has a really cool idea for a Kinkajou winglet that I'd like to see. How do you feel about Sundew being gay? From Natalie Nunez. I'm happy about it. I think that Sundew and Willow are really cute, and I'm glad that it's a healthy pairing. I think that LGBT representation in books is very important, so I think it's fantastic that a major Wings of Fire character is lesbian. It would be really nice to see even more LGBT main characters in the future. What are your opinions on Peacemaker? From Shauna Purcell. I'm not really a fan of him. I mean, first of all, why is his name not Lightbringer? Since, you know, Lightbringer is the opposite of Darkstalker, but, you know, whatever. No one cares about symbolism in this household. I also wish that Darkstalker had chosen to redeem himself and become Peacemaker willingly. The fact that he was forced into it was very sketchy to me, given the whole message about not forcing dragons to become other people and losing their memories against their will. You know, the whole plot in Escaping Peril and with Hailstorm and Pyrite, but anyway, ignoring all that, frankly, if Darkstalker's not going to repent, I would rather the Jade Winglet just flat out killed him. It's really weird that the Jade Winglet gave Darkstalker a freaking third chance when he literally attempted genocide on the Ice Wings and he never even repented at all for his actions, but I mean, I don't absolutely hate Peacemaker like other people do. He's okay, I guess. I don't like him, but I'll give him a chance if he appears in another book as a major character. Who do you feel is an underrated character? From Shauna Purcell. That's an interesting question. I really would have liked to see more about Hawthorne, and I think he had such an interesting story, but he was killed in like 5 seconds. I also feel like Turtle is a bit underrated since a lot of people seem to hate his book and they find him boring, which admittedly I understand because he barely did anything, but I love him. Plus, I think he did change and grow at the end of his book. I would also say that Fathom and Starflight are underrated as well. What characters do you want to see a Legends book on? From Arnglade Dragunov. I mostly went to see a Scorching Legends. But a Legends about Clearsight's life after going to Pantala would be really cool. However, I'm actually more interested in winglets. For example, I would really like to see winglets on Queen Scarlet, Kinkajou, Albatross, and Princess Orca. Usually Tui only writes a Legends book when she needs the backstory from it to help with the main series, given that was the case with both Darkstalker Legends and Dragon Slayer. For Queen Scarlet, Albatross, and Orca especially, I would really like to see how they developed and how they became villainous, because I generally really like morally gray characters, so I would want a story that lets me empathize with these villains. Although Scarlet's one-dimensionalness makes her funnier, so Do you play the Wings of Fire Roblox game? From Chrissy Morales. No, I don't play it. I've never played any Roblox games before, and since it costs money, I'm not really very interested. I used to play a lot of video games, but honestly, I have very little time now given my PhD studies, working on studying artwork or drawing, moderating the Pirate Pantala roleplay group, like doing my social media accounts, and then spending time with my real-life friends and boyfriend and family. So sadly, I don't really have that much time anymore for games, but the Wings of Fire Roblox does look pretty cool from what I've seen of it, and maybe someday I will try it out if some of my friends convince me to. I would probably only play if my friends are also playing, and yeah, I would have been all over that though when I was younger. How can you get more well noticed in the Wings of Fire YouTube community? From Secret Wolf YT. I get this question a lot about things like how to get your art more noticed and stuff. There's a lot of great videos about it. You can check out Lavender Town's video on the subject in general on how to get your art more noticed. I think one important thing is that a lot of people expect to get well known within like 1 or 2 months. And that's just not going to happen. And by the way, also, I do not consider myself well-known on YouTube, given that most streamers have like 100,000 subscribers. I would say that you need at least 20,000 people to be well-known. But yeah, I've been in the Wings of Fire fandom for 3 years now, so it's taken me 3 years to get to the point where I am now. So just think about, like, that it took 3 years, and it just didn't take 1 or 2 months. I also tend to see a lot of people getting upset because they don't get accepted into maps or animation projects and stuff like that, or they don't get commissions. My personal suggestion would be, instead of focusing on getting famous or getting into projects, just work on getting better at your artwork or whatever craft you do, if it's writing or looming or something like that. You should watch tutorials and videos on YouTube, not just on drawing dragons, but all sorts of things like light, anatomy, and composition. You can keep posting while you do this, and once your art is good enough, it will speak for itself and people will start to notice you. Probably the worst thing you can do is try to get noticed by commenting things like, "Please subscribe to my channel" on other people's videos, or beg people to join your maps, or beg people to let you into their maps. It can actually be really awkward, and usually it makes the other people want to avoid you. But yeah, I'd say focus on the quality of your art and writing and let that speak for itself, and then just be like a nice and good person to other people. Another thing I'd want to mention is that if you want to be noticed by an artist who's like quote bigger, the best way to do that is to like just comment on their work a lot and show up for their live streams and just generally support their work. Because like for some of my subscribers, I notice like the people who come to my streams over and over again and post comments, like I actually can like recognize their names and recognize their comments. And it makes me really happy when those specific people comment. So it's definitely a good way to like kind of stand out from the crowd. How many times have you read Wings of Fire from The Secret Planet? I've reread the first and second arc and Darkstalker Legends 3 times each. I read The Poison Jungle twice, and each of the other books I only read once. I find the Wings of Fire books are very addictive, and when I start reading one as a comfort book, I have a hard time not going on to the next book. What hybrid pair is your favorite? From Sarah Barr. I have a huge soft spot for Sea Wing and Sandwing hybrids since my OC Kraken's children with her boyfriend Mojave, which he'd be her husband when they actually have kids, are Sea Wing x Sandwing, since Mojave's a Sandwing and Kraken is a Sea Wing. I just love that family so much, and their cute kids, Typhon and Siren. Mojave and Siren are owned by Alaskanae, and I own Kraken and Typhon. I just really like sandy golden brown and blue colors for Sea Wing and Sandwing hybrids, and those guys have a special place in my heart. I think also Ice Wings and Silk Wings, or Ice and Rain, make pretty good hybrids. Or Night Wings and Silk Wings, or Night and Rain. For my own OCs, I try to diversify my hybrid pairs though, so like since I already have Merlin as my Skywing Hivewing hybrid, I would probably try not to make another Sky Hive character if I can. How do you go to Wings of Fire events? From Zucchini Face. You can follow Tui's events on tuibooks.com, and she posts Wings of Fire events there ahead of time. Then I just kind of follow that page, and when I see one that I can go to, I pick what's affordable to me and also which ones my friends are going to. For Book 14 theories, what's your opinion on scavengers and their relevance in Wings of Fire? From Heather Bartlett, you, and Alunari Nitot. I might make this its own video, since I have a lot of ideas to say about it. Favorite Wings of Fire villains? Turkey the Gobble God. Anyone can probably see my favorite villains are generally Darkstalker and Queen Scarlet. I think I've mentioned that like 3 or 4 times now in this video. Unfortunately, I don't really care for most of the Wings of Fire villains other than those 2 because I find them either boring or one-dimensional. I mean, I guess Scarlet is one-dimensional, but she's thrilling. What do you think of Dragon Slayer? From Ars. I think that Dragon Slayer was a fun book, but it wasn't one of my favorites Wings of Fire-wise. I actually found the plot to be kind of slow compared to the other books, but I did really enjoy the interactions between Murder Basket and Ren. What is it like to talk to and know Tui? You get to meet her so often. From Desert Seer of the Sandwings. Honestly, it's really amazing to talk to Tui. I get so excited every time I go to a Wings of Fire event, and I still get butterflies in my stomach whenever I get to talk to her. She's just really sweet and kind, and she pays attention to each of her fans and will do special things for them that I haven't seen any author do. For example, at one of the events that I was at, she talked to one girl's friend on the phone because her friend couldn't come to the event. I can talk to Tuya for like hours about all sorts of things and still at the end of the conversation have more really interesting things to talk about and not feel like the conversation is getting stale. And not just talking about Wings of Fire things too, like just anything in general. But Tui is a mom and she also has a lot of responsibilities besides just being writer and fandom mom. So it's important to understand that she's really busy at most events and she's just really busy with her life in general. She has this really incredible charisma, though, that makes you feel like you're the most special person in the world. I can't even explain it, but I would just highly suggest you go to a Wings of Fire event if you can to meet her. Do you take requests, and if somebody gave you their fan character, would you be willing to draw it? From Moonsight7. No, I do not take requests. And as I mentioned before, I usually try to avoid people who request for me to draw their character. Like, if somebody says, can you draw my character, I will immediately start trying to avoid them. It's always just extremely awkward when somebody asks, and it's kind of, I mean, it looks bad. It looks bad. Imagine if, like, you were running a restaurant, and you were known around town for the great restaurant food that you served, and then someone just walks into your restaurant and says, please serve me for free. It's just not a good look to ask somebody who you've never talked to before to do something for you for free. If Blue or Cricket had to die, who would you pick? Question from Kiba. Since there's many other Silkwings who could be main characters like Luna, Io, and Swordtail, I would rather Blue die over Cricket just so we don't lose our one good Hivewing representative. And I don't consider Bumblebee to really be a Hivewing representative. If you could bring any dragon back from the dead in Wings of Fire, who and why? From Yeshi Rai. Unfortunately, Tui doesn't really like to kill off dragons, so there aren't very many dead characters that would be good to bring back from the dead. I would obviously love to see Clearsight's avatar or Clearsight's reincarnation returned. I mentioned that with the Nightwing Blacksmith's daughter that Peacemaker is fated to marry. It would be really cool if she was the reincarnation of Clearsight. It would also be very interesting, I think, to have Princess Orca come back from the dead, which is possible if she faked her death using Animus magic. What is your favorite Dragonette of Destiny? Also from Yeshi Rai. I would definitely say Tsunami. She reminds me of myself when I was younger. If you could add a canon tribe, what features or concepts would you like to see? From Alaska Nay. I would really like to see a Pantalon dragon with feathers or fur, probably feathers. Tui says that she based the tribes in Pantala on bugs and their environment, or leaves, so why not birds to eat the bugs? My fan tribe ideas were based around this. They would have feathered wings, a feathered crest, and a sound-based attack where they could make screams that cause painful vibrations. Kind of like a weaker version of the Divine Wind from the Temeraire series. If you could add any death in the Wings of Fire series, what type of death would it be and who would be dying? From Alaska Nay. Oh my god, Alaska, you're freaking savage. Alright, I love this question, and I have a ready answer. You might be surprised at this, but actually, I would 100% kill Winter if I could rewrite parts of the series. But guess, why do you ask, given that Winter is one of my favorite characters? Well, I would really like to see a parallel situation with Darkstalker controlling Winter and causing him to die, similar how he made Arctic die. It would be so heart-wrenching, like, I'd be so sad. And I would really love to see Winter be heroic and die for a good cause, instead of reverting back to literally only caring for his tribe and ignoring Moon's prophecy like he did in Book 10. It would have been much more heroic and a dramatic end to Winter. And his character legacy would go on, and it would go out with a bang instead of Winter just kind of fizzling out with a whimper. Plus, honestly, Winter dying is the only way that I'm okay with Moon and Kibble getting together romantically. I remember before Wings of Fire Book 10 came out, the artist Scourgefiend drew this amazing picture of Winter dying and wrote a caption as if it was part of the book, and people flipped out thinking that it was real. It was really cool. If you could eradicate one tribe, which tribe would it be? Also from Alaska Nay. Alaska, you are coming in with the savage questions again. I think actually all the tribes are important. I don't really like how similar the Silkwings and Hivewings are in appearance, so I would probably eliminate the Hivewings if I could, also because I just hate drawing their scales. But the Hivewings are an extremely important part of the plot, and I really like how they're sort of Clearsight's legacy and her children. And the whole thing with them being Clearsight's children is one of my favorite parts of the third arc, so I wouldn't want to get rid of them because of that. Obviously, the Mudwings are least relevant to the plot of Wings of Fire, but I do think that they're important because they're literally the only tribe with a different body type, and we love those chonkers. I do wish that the Mudwings had cooler powers and were more ground-based. We don't really have any rock or stone-based dragons, so if I guess I had a way, I would make the Mudwings more rock and stone-based than mud. And I think they would also be more interested and unique if maybe they didn't have any fire at all, and instead they could do things like eat rocks, sense tremors, and movement through the ground. And if they could move the earth, like Earthbenders in Avatar: The Last Airbender, that would be great. Alright, we've actually finished all the questions that I got about Wings of Fire. It was so many. As you can see, this video is already 50 minutes long, and this is only a fraction of the total questions that I got on my Q&A call video. I hope that you guys were entertained by this and some of my thoughts on Wings of Fire. I'll be tackling another round of questions when I hit 8 or 9k subscribers, but for now, thanks for 7k. Actually, at the time of recording this, I'm already at 7.2k, so you guys are awesome and crazy. And I'll see everybody in the next video.